What's up, guys? Carlton Flowers here with the Go Political Podcast. We are back in action talking about the city of my birth. That's right, city of Chicago, where I was born and raised until the day came where my dad said, enough is enough. And we got the hell out of there, flew out of the city and came to the state of Missouri. I love my city, but I wouldn't want to live there. So we're back on the topic of whether or not the National Guard should intervene in the city of Chicago. And in the last video, I talked about a shocking poll that said that we have a significant number of people in the black community who are for the intervention of the National Guard because they're tired of it. They're tired of living in a crime-ridden city where the mayor, the illustrious 6% approval rating Brandon the Jackass Johnson, refuses to beef up the police force and crack down on crime. And stay tuned because I've got another video coming your way where I'm going to prove that there's a big reason why the mayor and the officials in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois refuse to crack down on the crime situation, why the cartel and the mob bosses are in full control. But that is coming at you on another video. So we talked about the polls in the last video, but I got a better poll for you on this one. I got a better one for you. And this one will dispel the whole big fat lie that black people don't want police, that we want to defund the police. Okay, so check this out. 65% of the people in the city of Chicago oppose the National Guard intervention, and roughly 60 to 70% of people in the black community oppose National Guard intervention. However, check this out. 77% of black people favor having more police officers patrolling the streets. Who's listening? Who's listening? Did you hear that? That's according to a 2023 M3 Real Clear poll. All right. And that sentiment is still echoed today, right now. But they don't want to put that out there in the news. They want you to believe that we all want to defund the police. And that's a big fat lie. So let's talk about this whole police situation. I've mentioned a lot of numbers recently on past videos, but we got a staffing crisis with the Chicago Police Department. So they're down right now like 1,200 officers. And there's a vacancy problem. You got a 20% vacancy rate right now in 2025. They're not even filling those jobs. And then you wonder why crime is so out of control. You wonder why the people on the South Side are saying, we want safe neighborhoods. We have a right to this. But then Brandon, the Jackass Johnson, the mayor of the city of Chicago, says that it is just wrong. It's stupid. It's racist. It's hateful to think that we need more police officers. We just need more federal funds. We need more money. Just send more money for the social programs because they really work. And that's kind of similar to the Plan B violence prevention program that Kamal Woods and Tiffany Henyard hatched up, where they basically got $500,000 of money from the feds for a program that was housed in his defunct car wash. And he got a $100,000 a year salary with no evidence, not a single shred of evidence that a single youth was served. Not one kid was shown to be saved from the streets, preventing violence. But that's what they do. So that's what Brandon Johnson wants. Just send more money for more social programs because we don't want police officers. But 77% of black people in the city of Chicago disagree. We're there. We're there. And you can't sweep that under the rug. Black people do want safe communities. So we need to stop listening to all the ridiculous news reports where they vilify black folks, claiming that we just want to live in neighborhoods where crime runs rampant. It ain't true. We're not all like that, okay? And I'm going to continue to uncover evidence that proves it otherwise. So not only do we have a police staffing crisis, but Brandon the Jackass Johnson has also slashed the budget in non-police positions. So there was like 456 positions in civil reform roles that got cut. We also had the Office of Constitutional Policing. They were cut 57%. There was another 35 people that were cut from that portion. And then we refused to fill the vacancies. So how's that working out for you? But we want to sit around and talk about crime is down because we're down from 700 murders to 500. So that's great. That's something to celebrate, right? Yeah. So he did reverse some of the cuts. He restored, I think it was like 162 consent decree positions, but that was only after backlash from AG Kwame Raoul. But overall, we got a problem. He's not hiring back those police officers, and that's why crime is out of control. They're not even giving raises. I think they only have like 100 planned promotions for police officers, but the rest of them, I guess you're just going to have to deal with the increasing cost of living because you ain't getting no more money to be out there putting your life in danger. All right, let's move to the next section here. Let's talk about a black pastor who ain't having it, who's fed up. His name is Pastor Corey Brooks, and he created this program called Rooftop Revelations. He's talking about life on O Block, where he says we need protection, not programs that don't show up. All right, so let's cut to a video here. We're going to listen to what this pastor had to say. I'm going to give you the link to the whole video so you can watch the whole thing. I'm just going to play a couple minutes of it, and then we'll talk as we hear what he has to say. Here we go.
The south side of Chicago is a war zone. In 2023, the city suffered 617 homicides and over 2,000 shooting incidents, with neighborhoods like Inglewood and Woodlawn, where I live, suffering the most. Just a few weeks ago, I stood over the body of a man shot dead. Hundreds of young souls will be shot dead by year's end. So I was not surprised when President Donald Trump said, quote, "Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next." End quote. After all, the government's first responsibility is to protect its citizens. And when endless violence continues to plague the lives of people around me, action is needed.
Yeah, how about that? So how do you feel about your local government not protecting the citizens? That's what they're supposed to be there to do, and they're failing to do that. Let's continue on.
How did Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, both Democrats, respond to Trump's words? Quote, "As Donald Trump attempts to create chaos that distracts from his problems, we'll call it out for what it is." Pritzker pushed back against Trump's words, stating, quote, "Crime rates are improving. Homicides are down by more than 30% in Chicago in the last year alone." He then said that Trump's approach was a distraction from real issues, saying, "We won't be distracted by his authoritarian push."
That's the dumbest thing in the world. And, you know, it's no coincidence that the mascot of the Democratic Party is the jackass. And that's why I call Brandon the Jackass Johnson, because you guys, you and JB Boss Hog Pritzker, you're jackasses, complete jackasses for saying ridiculous stuff like that. I agree. Amen, Pastor. Let's continue on.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson responded that Trump's approach was uncoordinated, uncalled, and unsound, and that unlawful deploying the National Guard to Chicago could inflame tensions between residents and law enforcement. He later added that it's not democratic, it's unconstitutional. In this latest news, President Trump signed an executive order to prevent federal funds from going to Illinois because of their cashless bail policy.
Yeah, see, there you go. So he's cutting you off. Cashless bail. Stupidest thing in the world that just lets more criminals stay out on the streets because we got to protect their rights. But they committed a crime. Why are we helping them? Who knows? But that's why you're not getting federal funds for those social programs, because of reasons like that. Let's continue on.
I think that reducing crime, especially in the underclass of the South Side, would be a bipartisan effort. After all, didn't Black Lives Matter, which Pritzker and Johnson have expressed support for, say that far too many Black lives are dying? Why do the people in my neighborhood, especially the children walking to schools, not deserve the fullest protection? That is their inherent right as American citizens. I see the insertion of troops onto the Chicago streets as a necessary shock and awe measure. The Chicago Police Department has done a good job in recent months bringing down murders and crime, but they are led by defund the police leadership. Imagine how much better the force would be with the law and order mayor. As a result,
A law and order mayor. Now, I don't know why the majority of people don't want to vote for a law and order mayor. You know, you sit around, you're talking about crime is down, crime is down. But one life lost is too many. One child getting a stray bullet while they're walking to school is too many. This is not a time to be talking about crime is down because every single life is valuable. Let's continue on.
Gangs still control our streets, human trafficking goes unabated, and drugs flow through here like the Mississippi River. We need a reset. We need a reordering of society where our kids are put first and the gangsters last. Let's not kid ourselves that much of the violence we see today is due to post-60 liberalism. We divorced far too many people from the American dream with policies of dependency. We favored the power of teacher unions over educating our children. And only 4% of the kids at the school down the street from my church can read at grade level.
Now that's a shame. Now let's think about this. He just said that all the last several decades of liberalism, what has it produced? How many liberal administrations have we gone through only to see this problem still exist in 2025? It does not work. Hey, you want to do some research? Go look up what Malcolm X had to say about the liberalism and the effect on the black community. You might be shocked. Now, he says much more, a lot more in this video. And like I said, I'm going to give you the link so you can watch it all. You need to hear all of this and then come back and comment and let me know I watched the whole video of the pastor. Pastor Corey says some things in here, and just to keep this, manageably short, we won't play the whole thing, but it's all good. All right, so let's get back in the studio. And now let's talk about the consequences, okay? What happens as a result of the actions of the mayor and boss hog Pritzker not wanting to handle the crime situation? Well, one thing is the 9/11 program. Listen to this. This is shocking. So, you call 911 and they're late or they don't show up. Remember back in the 90s when we had that hit by Public Enemy where Flavor Flav said 911 is a joke. Well, it's worse than ever. We are at a peak point of ineffectiveness, of incompetence of the 9/11 response system. Listen to this. 53% of high priority calls get no immediate reply right now in 2025 in the city of Chicago. Now, if you go back to 2019, all right, that's 6 years ago, it was at 19%. 19%. So this is the result of Lori Blightfoot and Brandon the Jackass Johnson, who say that all we need is more money. We just need more federal programs so people can get $100,000 a year salaries like Kamal Woods and not serve a single youth. We just need more money. So after these two last mayors and the current one, we went from 19% failure to 53%. That's sad. And I've even had people post in the comments that they would call 911 and the police don't come for like 2 hours. Now, in the big expose video, I'm going to tell you why they don't come for 2 hours, because there's something going on with the politicians and the gangs and the cartels, but we're going to save that. All right. So the lack of police, they don't have enough to police to respond, combined with this other shocker that I'm going to expose, is why we get that 53% of no immediate reply. That's sad. Let's talk about some hypocrisy and betrayal. All right. And then we're going to be done. So listen to this. The hypocrisy of this. We won't hire police officers, right? We won't dump money into the Boys and Girls Clubs in the South Side of Chicago. We won't help more law enforcement to get on the streets to get this all under control. But Mayor Brandon the Jackass Johnson, with his 6% approval rating, spent $638 million on illegal immigrants since 2022. Let that settle in a little bit. $638 million. Now, you wonder why people feel betrayed? The migrants got $638 million. So they got shelter. They got, their room and board. They got food. They got food cards. They were giving cash, like $1,500 each. Free health care. They helped them to start their little businesses with their vendor licenses in the streets where they didn't have to go through all of the hoops that everybody else has to go through. They got driver's licenses without being able to even know how to drive. All right. Handed them jobs too. But now here's the most hypocritical thing of all. Get this. So we won't hire police officers. We're going to leave that 20% vacancy rate. But they were letting illegal immigrants work on the police force as police officers carrying guns and badges. Wow. Make that make sense. That's one of the most hypocritical things I've ever seen in my entire life. So that's a shame. That's a shame. So we spent all that money. We drive the deficit to over $1 billion, and it's supposed to grow to $2.5 billion in a matter of years. And the black people in the South Side feel betrayed. That's why we have Chicago Flips Red. That's why they have been coming to those city council meetings in numbers, voicing their opinion, and practically yelling and calling out Brandon the Jackass Johnson for the hypocrisy of spending all that money on illegals while leaving them as sitting ducks in the South Side, victims of the crime. That's why we in the black community, a percentage of us, feel betrayed and have a right to speak up. So it's okay if you're against National Guard intervention, that's fine. If you want to roll with the Democrats, the Jackass Party, that's fine. Have at it. But you cannot sweep the people under the rug who are against it, who have different ideas, who want the police on the streets. You can't make them disappear. 77% of black people want more cops, not defunding the police. So let's stop propagating that big, fat lie. Now, I got some questions for you. Questions. All right. I want to know if you feel betrayed. You're in Chicago. Do you feel betrayed by the mayor? And do you feel betrayed by the comments from Boss Hog J.B. Pritzker, the governor? Do you feel betrayed by their words where they're claiming they got everything under control? And are you satisfied with what they said about crime being down? That's question number one. Question number one. Question number two, do you actually believe that the social programs is what they need? We just need to spend a few more $100 million on the social programs. Do you believe that that is a more effective policy than hiring back all those vacancies in the police department? Post that in the comments. All right. I want to know, especially if you're from Chicago. Shout out to all my Southside people. We got a lot of great folks that are viewing from my old neighborhood, and I still have family all over the city of Chicago. My family got the hell out of there when my dad decided he had had enough, but I still have lots of relatives that are all over the city. Shout out to my cousin Damon. Damon, I want you to answer all the questions and let me know, what do you think? What do you think? So I want you to hit the like button, subscribe, and tick the notification bell because I got that big expose coming up, and we're going to keep reporting on the action in my birth town in the city of Chicago. I got more great stuff coming your way that you definitely do not want to miss. And then I got to ask you a favor. I'm going to have to ask you to tell a friend. Tell a friend, because we are in a rebuilding process trying to get away from the Dalton, Tiffany Henyard thing where I got pretty much pigeonholed, where as soon as I talk about other topics and move on from that, my video count went way down, and the 9,800 subscribers don't even get notifications because the algorithm has to be reprogrammed. Well, good news, because we're breaking out. That last video that I did, it got discovered by the algorithm, and now YouTube knows. It knows that we're not just here for the Tiffany Henyard show. But for those of you that only wanted to hear about that, you can unsubscribe. You can go away, because we got a lot of great people that are out there that want to discuss other issues. Let me know what you would like me to cover. So that's all I got for this one. I'm going to shut up now because I got stuff to do. So this is Carlton, and I am out.